The most visible, and certainly the largest tribute to William Saroyan in the city of his birth, has to be the William Saroyan Theatre. What better tribute to one of the nation's true masters of dramatic writing than to name a theater after him? And though it wasn't built as a tribute to the kid from Fresno, it has cemented itself as one of the finest he could have asked for. Fresno had gone through a series of changes in the late 1950s and early 60s. The post-war boom had led to a significant growth throughout California, but Fresno was still, at heart, an agricultural city. The population of California's other major cities boomed, as did Fresno, its population doubling between the end of World War II and 1960. This influx of residents brought a newfound prosperity, but also a need to carve itself a distinct identity. Towards this goal, many expansion and beautification projects were undertaken. Highways were built or rerouted, requiring the razing of much of old Fresno. The city invested in itself through projects that included a major public art initiative. Even today, many of the pieces commissioned in the 1960s are still visible along Fulton Street. Several building projects were launched, reshaping Fresno's downtown. One plan that many in the city government wanted to prioritize was building a new convention center. Mayor Selland was steadfast in his belief that building a convention center and event complex in downtown, not far from Civic Center, would bring visitors and provide tax revenue to the city. The only problem? The citizens of Fresno were against it. Many felt that they had seen too much of old Fresno destroyed in the name of progress. The topic of funding a convention center was put on the ballot in June 1962 and failed to pass. But a politician with a dream is hard to hold back. Salond and various community and business groups began pursuing state and federal grant money, and by 1964 they had managed to put together enough capital to break ground on the project, even though it wasn't particularly popular with the populace. Over 18 months, the Fresno Community and Convention Center was built on M Street between Inyo and Kern Streets. The three buildings were distinctly of the style that would be known as mid-century modern. In 1966, November, the Fresno Community and Convention Center was dedicated. The center featured a large arena, the Salond Arena, named after the mayor who doggedly championed the project, the exhibition hall, and a theater. The theater was called the Convention Center Theater. And so it remained through 1981. In that time, the Convention Center thrived, bringing events of all kinds to the city. The arena has been home to many significant sporting events, from basketball to pro wrestling, as well as concerts and events like Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus, and the Pacific Indoor Rodeo. The theater became the home of several of Fresno's most important cultural institutions. The Fresno Ballet, Fresno Philharmonic, and Fresno Grand Opera all made the Convention Center Theater their home. Touring concert orchestra and choral groups would play the venue as well. Major superstars like ballet legend Mikhail Baryshnikov appeared at the Convention Center Theater, and it's clear why it would feature such incredible talent. The theater is beautiful. As you approach the entrance, you see a massive bronze front door and doorpiece. Created by Fresno artist Stan Bitters, the bronze was so big he had to create a foundry near the site just to create them. The bronze piece features abstract shapes, including Bitters' signature rondelles. At more than 20 feet tall, the piece looms over those who pass through the inset doors. The lobby wraps around the back half of the theater, split into two portions, the North Lobby and the South Lobby. The passing of Saroyan in 1981 was a major loss to the literary world, and to Fresno as well. His death received massive amounts of coverage, including an entire special section of the Fresno Bee. Tributes popped up around the country, and the idea of renaming the Convention Center Theater appears to have come fairly quickly. By February 1982, the theater had been officially renamed the William Saroyan Theater. The rebranding was clear in advertisements for the events at the theater, but 3 additions to the building itself over the next few years made it clear that this was a theater rededicated to Fresno's greatest theatrical legend. The first, and most visible, is the sign. Marking the building is Saroyan's famed signature, backlit. The letters are about 4 feet tall, clearly announcing the importance of the namesake to the city of Fresno. The fact that Saroyan's signature is also incredibly clear and easy to read, at least compared to other writers of the time, probably helped in that decision. The second is a marble ground panel in front of the doors. Here again we see Saroyan's signature, above a large depiction of the comedy and tragedy masks. This simple piece seems to state that while Saroyan was key, he was always about the theater, and worked equally adeptly in both drama and comedy, often at the same time. The most impressive, though, is also the most personal of branding. The bust of William Saroyan, created by Varaz Samuelian. Varaz Samuelian and William Saroyan had been dear friends since 1964. Born in Yerevan, Samuelian moved to Paris and studied alongside many of the most important artists of the time, including Ferdinand Laguerre. After World War II and a stint in the French underground, he came to Northern California to be near his brother, and found work as a sign painter. Eventually, he relocated to Fresno, where he would become one of the best-known California sculptors of the day. In 1970, Samuelian created a 28-foot-high statue of Armenian folk hero David of Sassoon. Located on M Street, just a couple of blocks away from the theater, it is a massive, wild piece of public sculpture that has become Samuelian's best-known work. Such was their friendship that Samuelian allowed Saroyan to lay one of the stones, the only person other than Varaz himself to lay any part of the monument. Following Saroyan's death and the renaming of the theater, a committee was formed to deliver a memorial for the theater's site. A Saroyan statue was a clear concept, and Samuelian was an obvious choice for the job. The committee gathered dozens of donors to fund the creation of a full-body statue of Saroyan, a book in one hand, and the handlebars of his ever-present bicycle clutched in the other. While they had set a goal for $50,000, they also only managed to raise about half of the needed funds for the large piece, so the memorial was scaled back to a 4-foot-high bust and a beautiful black marble pedestal. The bust of Saroyan shows Varaz's style to perfection, though perhaps more restrained than some of his other pieces. The expression on Saroyan's face is wide-eyed, as if looking across the street, and perhaps evokes a sense of optimism that his stories inspired. The bust was unveiled on January 8, 1984, at a brief ceremony. Then Mayor Daniel Whitehurst, the primary speaker, declared, "This is a sign of the very special feeling we have here in Fresno for Saroyan." Varaz also spoke, first in English, and then in the language he and his dear friend Willie would converse in, Armenian. The William Saroyan Theater is still a center for Fresno's cultural life. Even through remodels and upgrades, it remains one of the finest theaters in California's Central Valley, and a fitting tribute to the man whose name it bears.